This problem, I want to find the zero of the polynomial function. So we got f of x is equal to x to the third minus x squared minus 9x plus 14. Now to find the zeros means you set this equal to 0 and you solve it. So we got x to the third minus x squared minus 9x plus 14 equal to 0. Fundamental theorem of algebra says your largest power of a polynomial tells you how many answers you're going to have, how many zeros. Since our largest power is the third, we'll have 3 answers. So let's put our polynomial on y1 and 0 on y2. So I'll press y equals, clear, and we got x caret 3. If you're on a newer TI-84, you need to press your right arrow key to get out of exponent mode. Minus x squared minus 9x plus 14. Have to have 0 on y2. So if you don't have 0 there already, down arrow to y2, press clear, and then put 0. Okay, now we're going to do second trace. We're going to choose intersect, so I choose number 5. Now it looks like negative 3 or negative 4, something like that. So we do inner on first curve, inner on second curve, and put in negative 3. And press enter. And we get negative 3.192582. That doesn't look real promising. Let me double check, make sure I typed in correctly. Yeah, I did. Okay, well let's try to change it to a fraction. If you get decimals, you do second mode and press math, enter, enter. Well, that's a decimal that will not change to a fraction, so we can't use that. Well, let's continue. Try to find another answer. So do second trace, choose intersect, inner on first curve, inner on second curve, and I'm guessing this probably comes down, goes below the x-axis, comes back up. Just guessing. So let me, for the guess, put in 1. It'll find whichever answer is closest to it, and it tells me x is equal to 2. Well, let's try to get into one more. I'll do second trace, choose intersect. Let me put inner on first curve, inner on second curve, and we put 4 in for the guess. We get 2.1925824. Now that's a decimal. I want to change it to fraction, so I'm going to exit out. I'll do second mode, and then press math, enter, enter. And that won't change to a fraction, so we can't use that. Now, anytime you have decimals that won't change to a fraction, you can't use those as your answers, so we ignore those. We'll come back to that. Actually, if you have one decimal that will not change to a fraction, you will have another one. They come in pairs. Okay, so we found one answer via the calculator. We're going to take that one answer and we're going to plug that into synthetic division. Now, our largest power is x to the third, so real small across the top. All right, x to the third, x squared, x, and no x. Now the number in front of our x to the third is a 1. The number in front of our x squared is a negative 1. The one in front of our x is negative 9. And the no x, or constant term, is 14. Now we're going to do a series of adding, multiplying over and over until we're done. 1 plus nothing is 1. Then we'll multiply. You always multiply by number in a box, but number you just put down there. 2 times 1 is 2. Then 1 to add. Negative 1 plus 2 gives us 1. Then 1 to multiply. You always multiply by number up in a box, but number you just put down there. 2 times 1 is 2. Then 1 to add. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. And then multiply. Multiply the number in the box, but number you just put down there. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. And then add. 14 minus 14 gives us 0. Now, notice we got a 0 here. That means we found an answer, which is no surprise because the calculator told us it was an answer. You better get a 0 there. This was x to the third. This will be 1 degree lower, so this will be x squared, this will be x, and this will be our no x, or constant term. So what we're left with is x squared plus x minus 7 is equal to 0. Why did I set that equal to 0? Because we're finding zeros, so you're always setting it equal to 0. Well, this doesn't factor, so we're going to use quadratic formula. Whatever number is in front of your x squared is your a, so a is 1. Whatever number's in front of your x is your b, so b is 1. And c is your number at the end, which is negative 7. Now our formula for the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now if you mess up on signs, it's probably a good idea for you to go through and replace all of your variables with parentheses before you plug in your numbers. So I'm going through and replace all my variables with parentheses. Everything else in the formula remained exactly the same. The negative, the plus or minus, the square root, the minus 4, the 2. I just replaced the variables with sets of parentheses. Well, we just said a is 1, so everywhere I had an a, I'll put in 1. We said b was 1, so everywhere I have a b, I'll put in 1. And we said c was negative 7, so wherever we have a c, we'll put in negative 7. So that gives us negative 1 plus or minus square root. 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 times 1 is a negative 4 times negative 7 gives us positive 28 over 2 times 1 is 2. Which gives us negative 1 plus or minus. 1 plus 28 is 29, so we've got square root of 29 all over 2. Now the reason why they were decimals that would not change to a fraction is because they weren't really purely fractions. They had radicals in them, and the T83, T84 will not give you radical answers. So you have to use synthetic division to get the other answers. Anyway, x equals 2 is our first answer. This plus or minus here indicates there's 2 answers embedded here. So we found our 3 answers.